Welcome to Write on the Spot. My name is Sierra Hill, your host. This is episode 2. We are interviewing Ash Danny Writes today. She is going to let me pick her brain a little bit, and we're going to get to know her better and about her writing journey on authortube as well as a writer in general. And then we are going to jump right into the writing challenge. Now, with the Write on the Spot writing challenge, Ash Danny is going to have to spin the wheel of prompts. And with the wheel of prompts, I don't even know what the prompt is going to be. But after she spins it, she's going to get only 5 minutes to brainstorm. After she's done brainstorming, we are going to then put the timer on again, and she's going to get 20 minutes to write a short story. After that 20 minutes is up, she has to read it to the audience, of course, and it doesn't matter if she's done with it or not, but we're going to see what she gives us, what kind of gems she's going to give us, what kind of stories she's going to give us. We're going to get to see her creativity spark, and we're going to get to see her writing voice live. We're going to be watching the doc. She's going to share her screen as she's writing so we can see the process from the beginning to the end. Okay, so go ahead, grab your favorite drink, grab your favorite snack, grab a blanket, cozy up with us next to the fire as we chat and get to know Ash Danny, and we have fun with this challenge. First, of course, I want to start with an introduction. For those who don't know who you are, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Ash Danielle, whatever you want to call me by. I go by both. I am a speculative fiction writer. I primarily work on Gothic fiction, but I love fantasy. But even my fantasy is going to have a lot of Gothic and dark elements to it because I just think that's fun. So that is who I am. Love writing longer works, but a short story can happen every so often.
Okay. I feel the same way. I love dark elements, so I definitely get you on that.
Just letting go of that imperfection and knowing that my first draft is not going to be good, but I can build on that later. And that has really helped me finish a first draft. Granted, it was a short first draft, but my story goes from beginning, middle to end. And I've never been able to do that before until I just let go of perfection. I used to pride myself in sharing a chapter with someone and them saying it's really good, but then that would make me feel like, dang, now the second chapter and the third chapter and the one after that also has to be really good. That's not true. So that's been my biggest thing, just to help me get to the end. Just let go of perfection. Just tell your story in any way that you can.
Okay, good answer. I mean, I feel like as a writer or any writer that's watching this, we all have that little perfectionist in our head that's always like, this has to be perfect before you move forward, or this has to be perfect before this. And it makes it hard to finish a first draft in general, especially if you're new at writing. But yes, like Ash says, you gotta stop trying to be, perfect. You gotta turn that internal editor off and just write.
Mm-hmm.
Good advice. I like that. And since you're sharing your journey publicly, has vlogging about your journey process affected how you approach your work? Do you find it motivating, or does it add pressure?
So to answer the last part of that question first, it is motivating, but it also adds pressure because I feel like I'm either going to succeed publicly or I'm going to fail publicly. And that's kind of the mindset I had at first, but I don't think it needs to be succeed or fail publicly. It's just I'm sharing my journey. What happens, happens. It might take me years to get someplace, or it takes someone else less amount of time. And that is absolutely fine. We're all on our own journeys here, but really leaning into how it's motivated me, because it has. Part of why I think I was able to finish a first draft after years of trying in the past is because I've put myself out there. I found a community with authortube, and people weren't directly telling me that I need to continue writing and being my accountability partner, but just knowing that I'm not alone on this journey was really motivating. So whether it was comments people left on my video, or joining a Discord that other authortubers were in and seeing what their progress was like, that was so motivating. And I would recommend anyone who was maybe struggling to try to do a public journey. It might motivate you in ways that you didn't expect. I didn't think I was going to find such a welcoming community, but that has been such a catalyst for really encouraging me to keep going. So that's how it's affected my process or my work as well. Just the accountability and the friends I've made from being public about this journey.
Okay. Yeah, and I've noticed as well, in my start here with the community, they are very open
Yeah.
to new writers. So yeah, that's great. um, and I feel like you kind of answered this already, but is there a specific genre or type of story you're passionate about writing, and why does it resonate with you?
So if you would have asked me this question maybe middle of last year or earlier, I would have said fantasy. I love fantasy. That is what's inspired me. Grew up reading fantasy, and I still love fantasy. But I was looking through Pinterest and I found a quote and that was from a book that I had never read. I can't remember what the quote was, but it was very dark and alluring, and I had to look up what book this quote was from. And it was a quote from, oh gosh, don't tell me I'm going to forget right now. It was a quote from a very old gothic book about that had vampires, or one vampire, Carmilla. That's what it was.
Mm.
It was called Carmilla. And it was, I think it came out before Dracula. And after I read that, I kind of went on this dive of more gothic stories because I loved how it was told. So that was my long way of saying I'm very passionate about gothic stories. I've started to read more gothic stories, darker fantasy. I really enjoy those darker elements in stories, the
Hmm.
things that make you like nervous to turn the page, like what's going to happen next. Not necessarily in a thriller way, but just kind of scared a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm really passionate about that. And it resonates with me because I didn't know that there could be enjoyment in that kind of thing. I was always very much like a lighter fantasy kind of person. So it's just really cool for me to evolve in not only my writing, but in my reading and just trying out other genres. And yeah, I've just been loving the stories I've been reading that are darker. So I love specifically gothic fiction.
Okay. And you said it was Carmela?
Yeah, Carmilla. I cannot remember. It might be Sheridan by Sheridan Le Fanu.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a novella, short story about basically this girl who lives with her dad in this kind of estate.
Hmm.
They're waiting on a person to come join them. This person ends up being a vampire and is kind of like slowly sucking away at this person in her sleep, and she doesn't know why she's feeling sick. Then it's revealed that she's a vampire. But yeah, it's almost kind of seems like a warning
Hmm.
against like relationships, specifically like lesbian relationships, because it was written very long time ago. So it kind of has that kind of vibe to it, but it's just like this danger, this fear of the unknown. So yeah, that story kickstarted my deep dive and love of the gothic genre.
Yeah, it sounds like a good story. Actually, I I'm thinking about figuring out where I can find that book because that sounds good, and especially the
Yes.
ones that are like made a long time ago, and they, like you said, it kind of hints at something that is, of course, accepted now among most, but they kind of tie that in there subliminally. I like
Yeah.
those, even if I don't agree with it.
Yeah, it's just an interesting glimpse into the past.
Yeah, their mindset. Yeah. Okay. And every writer has a favorite character. Who's your favorite character that you've created, and what do you love about them?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, you're right. I have a few favorite characters. I'm trying to think. I guess I'll go based off of. I know I just said I write gothic fiction, but I'm currently in the middle of a romance.
Okay.
Because sometimes you got to break it up. You got to, try out something new. And so from that story, I would say she doesn't have a name yet, but it's one of my main characters who
Mhm.
is very much unafraid to be herself. She's kind of like all the things I wish I was when I was younger.
Mm.
She's unafraid of being herself. She doesn't care what other people think, but she's very caring and kind, and she respects other people even if they don't kind of give her that respect back, but
Mhm.
she'll also stand up for herself. She's just kind of that person you would want to be friends with, but she might be the one that's center of attention, but not
Mhm.
because she wants to be, but just because of, you know, like when people have that aura, that vibe, like you're just kind of drawn to them. Um, she's that person for this romance story that I'm working on. So I would say she's currently my favorite character because ultimately she's just unafraid to be herself, even if she can be a little quirky at times.
Okay. And I know you said you don't have a name for her yet. Is that because you like her so much that it's you want the name to like be perfect or match perfectly, or do you always kind of struggle or make the character name last or
Both. So I
okay.
do want to find a name that fits her because for my other things I'm working on, I really take into account time period and who the character is and maybe what their name could reveal about them. Not every story needs to have that. You could just have a character named Sharon, and Sharon is just Sharon. Like it doesn't need to mean anything. Um, so I think because I'm usually writing fantasy or gothic fiction where I want the name to have that meaning, for
Mhm.
this more contemporary romance, I'm just struggling with a name, even though I don't think it's that serious in any
Yeah.
genre, but especially not in this one. So
Mhm.
yeah, but then also I do want it to fit her. Like I don't want to give her a name that feels boring, even though in real life a name does not dictate your personality. But I feel like when you're writing, it kind of like it's a little hint. It's
Mhm.
just a little bit of a different world when you like think about certain character names
Mhm.
versus like real life when you give your kid a name.
Right. And sometimes when I create my characters, it's like I'm giving birth because I start with a name and then they kind of just grow into it, like with me and with the book. So I just
Oh, that's
says I'm giving
interesting.
birth. Yeah, you gotta think about it like that sometimes. But I see what you're saying too. I've struggled with that before. Um, and do you have a dream project or story you hope to write one day? What would it look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I kind of feel like I'm in the middle of a dream project right
Mm,
now, and it didn't start that way. Um, so I'm working on a couple projects right now, but one of them is my gothic sapphic novel about vampires, and it tackles themes of loss, grief, and mental illness. And it did not always start that way. But as I really discover who these characters are, I feel like I really want to make an important statement with how some of those themes are handled. And I want to do it well and not cause any communities to feel like I'm playing light of a serious situation. So, this
mm,
project, as I've developed these characters more and really understood more about what I want the story to say, it's becoming a dream project of mine that I feel like right now I am not strong enough to tell well. So that's also part of why it's a dream project. I don't feel like I can tell this story in the best way
mhm,
at the moment. Um, I feel like you probably don't want to write your dream project first.
mm,
Well, obviously, you know, different opinions. Like you can do that. That's fine. But I feel
sure.
like for me, I want practice writing a different story that's a bit lower stakes, that's not tackling serious topics.
Mhm,
Um, so yeah, that's I guess that's what it would look like. It would look like really exploring those like again like mental illness and grief and loss
mm,
in a way that is relatable to people that have gone through that, but in
mhm,
also a way that's authentic. And again, I just doesn't make light of that situation because there have been stories I've read where I feel like it's touched on an issue but it was handled in such a way it feels like You could have just left that out. It's almost hurting from and detracting from the story instead of helping it.
Mm.
So that's one of my dream projects.
Okay. And there's nothing, I completely agree with what you said. Where, even though you can start with a dream project, it's to me it's better to wait for when you have enough experience in, writing books or just in the topic that you're writing about, so that you don't come off like you don't know what you're talking about, or like you're insensitive to the subject.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I agree. But okay. Um, and ooh, if you could change one thing about the writing world or industry, what would it be?
I know it's not possible, but I would love to change the amount of time it takes in the traditional publishing world for things to move. It's a very slow moving process. I have not been through it myself yet, but I know people who have. We've seen the videos on authortube. It
Mhm.
is slow, which makes sense. You have to have an agent. First off, you got to find the agent. They have to like your story. You got to edit it. Then you got to send it off to publishers. They
Mhm.
have to read it and like it, and it has to fit with them. Even if your story is good, it just might not fit with a
Right.
particular publisher or agent that you're working with.
Mhm.
And so I don't think it's realistic for the timeline to change. I know it's not, but I wish that there was a way for traditional publishing to be a little bit faster. I saw someone on authortube say that they were almost going to give up on publishing their book after either just under a year or a little over a year, but now they've got a six-figure book deal.
Mm.
So
Mm.
clearly, if the company was going to give her a six-figure book deal, or the publisher, I should say, it has to be somewhat good. Like they're
Right.
trusting that she's new, she's not established. So it has to be good enough for them to give her that much money. So
Mhm.
why did it take so long? And it's
Right.
nothing to do with her because her story, that's her story that she's
Mhm.
been trying to get published. So I don't know all the ins and outs. Again, reading takes a long time, lots of people submitting things. I just wish that there could somehow be a faster way, slightly faster way
Mhm.
to get books traditionally published.
I definitely agree. Definitely. And I feel like it it could be more open than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as well as, like you said, it could be faster, maybe more, I'm not going to say accessible, but more open for different genres or types of writing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the industry is more focused on, obviously, selling what they can sell instead of
Yeah.
storytelling. So it may be a good story, but they just don't feel like it can sell, um, which I think is the worst way to think, because look at Stephen King. I always use him for an example,
Yes.
but he had all these rejections. Like he said he put a nail in the wall. He was tacking his rejection letters up there, and what he learned from that is he needed a bigger nail. So if he was getting denied, we know it's not a you thing. It's not a you problem at this point. Um, but yeah, just keep that in mind. All right. Um, And what's one thing you wish you had known about writing when you first started?
Oh, all these good questions. Okay, what's one thing I wish I had known before I got started? Um, I'm gonna steal this from an Alyssa in the Books video I saw recently, and it is that you should just add on a couple extra months to every deadline you give yourself. So if you think you're gonna finish the first draft in 2 months, maybe you'll finish in four. And I say that because things always happen, life happens. Even if your life is perfectly planned out and nothing goes wrong during that month, something is still going to go wrong during that month.
Mm-hmm.
March has been a terrible writing month for me, which is blowing my mind because in January and February, I finished the first draft of my book
Mm-hmm.
when I was meant to finish it at the end of March. So I was a month ahead of schedule.
Okay.
And then March, what have I written? Like 2 words. I'm like so stuck at the moment. I figured it out now. Like I'm good now, but you just never know. Even if things are going well, like you might just hit a roadblock. You
Mm-hmm.
might be interested in another project. Just all these things that could happen. So while deadlines are good and they keep you accountable, they keep you motivated to keep going, maybe add in a bit of buffer for yourself so that if you don't hit your initial deadline, it's not throwing everything off. I
Mm-hmm.
think people have a good, better, best goal. Have good, better, best timeframes for yourself. So, yeah, that's the one thing I wish I'd known about writing, or I guess the process of writing is just give yourself buffer, add on a few extra months, and
Mm-hmm.
either you won't need them and you'll finish early, or you did need them, but you didn't. But because you accounted for that time, you're still on schedule.
Okay. Yeah, and that's some good advice too. Um, and you know what? Let's jump into a fun question here. um, if your characters could form a rock band, who would play what instrument?
Ew. Okay. I'm going to go to my gothic story for this one.
Okay.
So, my main character, Rose, would definitely play piano. I feel like she gives
Mm.
off classic vibes. She's more like to herself. Like she just playing piano. I can see her in a large auditorium just playing some classical pieces. Um, Her close friend, Josephine,
Mhm.
would definitely play like drums. I feel like those are more like wild. She's
Okay.
very much like kind of like doing her own thing, but is like
Mhm.
the core, like the backbone. Without good drums, like it's just not, the whole beat's going to be off.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the love interest in this book, she would definitely be like lead singer guitar.
Mm. Yeah, she gotta be.
Like she is front and center, wants the attention, can be a little crazy. Maybe at the end of the show, she's like throwing that guitar down, breaking it, but she'll put on a good performance.
Okay, I like that, and I can imagine it now that you just said it, especially the
Yeah.
classical and the gothic. Um,
Yeah. I love that question because it's kind of making me realize that I know my characters
mhm,
more than sometimes I give myself credit for it. Because it's like sometimes we don't know our characters or we feel like we need to know more about them to write a good story, good character arcs.
mhm.
And yeah, that question really helped me think about who my characters are in like a split second and realize what role they would play. Yeah, that was a fun question.
I'm glad. um, and how do you stay motivated when writing isn't coming as easily as you'd like? Do you have any tips for writers who struggle with motivation?
I feel like it's not a good tip or a fun tip, but you can't just write based off motivation. There are so many things that you're going to be motivated to do and you're going to
Mhm.
do it in that moment, but it's going to get hard and the motivation is going to go away and then come back eventually. So if I only wrote when I was motivated, I don't think I would write very often.
Mm.
So I like to think of goals that I have. And so I guess it's still kind of motivation where I'm motivated to accomplish a goal versus though just motivated to write. So, really setting goals for myself, thinking about what I will get for accomplishing those goals. I like doing rewards. So, I've done a few challenges like 5K and 10K challenges. And when I did my 10K challenge, for every 2,000 words I wrote, I was like, I'm going to reward myself for accomplishing this. So, I know some people, they like to reward themselves before they start writing, and that makes them feel good enough to write. So,
Mm.
just figuring out what makes you feel good, especially when you're not motivated to write? Is it setting a goal for yourself? Is it thinking about what the overall outcome is going to be? Is it maybe you don't write for a little bit and you focus on a different part of the writing process? It could be spending hours on Pinterest as long as you're doing something that's keeping your brain active and focused on whatever world you're creating. I see that all as part of the writing process. And so sometimes you don't write, but you do other things. It could be brainstorming, working on your outline, again, Pinterest, mood board, that kind of stuff. Designing your book cover, even if you plan on paying someone else to do it. Just again, keeping your mind active and involved in your writing process so that you don't just completely forget it. And then the next thing you know, it's been months since you've written anything. So just finding things to stay involved on your writing project, even if you're not directly writing. That is something that has really helped me, because then by the end of mood boarding, I might be like, oh, this mood board looks so good. Like, I've got to get back into my story and write out this scene that I just thought of while doing my mood board. Or I just watched authortube and put on music that makes me think of my story. I want to keep that feeling going strong. So let me get back into my document. Just not always writing, but staying in tune with your story in some way.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with that. Because when people take too long of breaks away from their work, they'll get disconnected from it. And then they'll struggle getting back into it and being able to get the story out. And I tell people all the time, if you need to take a break, at least do something that has to do with the story on those days. So look at you with all these gems today.
I'm trying.
And you are giving. And you know what time it is now?
Oh,
do you know what time it is now?
I think so.
Time. It's time for the story challenge.
Okay.
All right. Now I am going to give you 5 minutes on the clock that you can do a brainstorm first. So after you get the prompt, you know what I'm saying? Get your little brainstorming going. And after the 5 minutes is up, we're going to put on that 20-minute timer and you're going to get to writing that story. Okay. Now it's completely up to you, but if you would like to share your doc while you're doing it, so that we can kind of watch, like, the whole process.
Yeah.
We could do that. Okay. All right. So first, I'm going to put the wheel up, and we're gonna spin that sucker, and then we're gonna get to get your Word doc and everything. So let's see. So it's just the wheel first, okay?
Okay, just the wheel.
All right, let me see. We're going to have to switch our screen. Let's go here for now. All right. Let me know when you're ready, because, you got to.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
All right. I'm going to spin it. Oh, be a good one. Be a good one.
Oh. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
It's a detailed question. I actually quite like that was going to be like more vague, but this is actually quite nice.
Oh yeah, girl, details. And you can. You can take a picture of it, maybe, because we got to put your doc up there.
Yeah, let me do that.
And let me just, even though y'all can read, it says, I'm glad you called. The person whom you or your character has been trying to talk to for ages finally answers the phone. Who is this person? Why were you or your character trying to track them down for so long? And how does the phone conversation progress? So there's a lot of things you can do with that.
There is. Let's see if I can do it. But yeah, there's some good stuff here.
You can do it. All right. Now we're going to stop and we can put up your doc.
Okay. So you got a blank doc. Let me pull up the questions and I'm going to start this brainstorm.
All right. And just let me know if you got to take a sip of water, if you got to just stretch, whatever you need to do. And then let me know when you're ready. I'll hit start on our little
I'm ready.
timer. Okay. All right. We are rolling. 4 minutes, guys.
Let me also make this bigger.
Okay, Jolene.
Just thinking about a Dolly Parton song, Jolene.
Why you?
I'm over here about to like. Let's see.
No, I like where it's going. I like where it's going because when you said the caller is her ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend, I was like, okay, this could go either way. We looking at whether you just make it like a argument or if you throw in your, you like to write your dark elements, whatever. I feel like this could go a good way. Either way.
Let's see. What else was there?
Let's see.
Right, I said that. How much time do I have left for brainstorming?
We got 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Okay.
And we got 30 seconds on the clock.
Actually, we're changing this. This, yes, but I think that makes more sense.
Up. Time is up.
Okay.
All right. I mean, how are you feeling about?
I feel I have ideas. So 5 minutes to brainstorm, that's crazy. I think that's actually a good what's it called? A good little thing to do maybe before you get into writing. Like you're limiting the amount of time you have to do something. So you're very hyper focused on that small task. I might incorporate that into my own routine because that's cool. Maybe you already have the questions you're going to ask yourself, but then you only give yourself a couple minutes to figure stuff out, see what happens, the things that are maybe most important to you, or the things you're going to think of first. Or there'll be terrible ideas, but you're only spending 5 minutes to brainstorm. So this is a nice little writing activity. I like this.
Okay, yeah, and I want to, if you incorporate it, I want to see how that goes for you.
Definitely.
All right, daggone it. Now, hold on. Let's get to the money. Let's write this story right here. Yes. All right, let me know when you're ready. I'm hitting it.
I'm ready.
All right, and we are starting now. 20 minutes on the clock.
Okay, 20 minutes. Actually, okay. How much time do I have left?
10 minutes. No
Oh,
pressure.
10 minutes. Okay. I want to make sure I at least have an ending.
Okay. It's going good. We're at a good 4 minutes and 46 seconds.
Left? I thought we had 10 minutes. It's 6 minutes past since I asked you. Okay.
The time has put down your fingers.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Because I mean, that was this. I want you to continue. Like, I want to know what happens. Um,
Me
no, it
too.
did. No, this is going good. I mean, really, and in that time frame, you got a lot down. Like, I can envision what's going on still, even though you had very little time to plan and get it all out on the dang doc. Like, you still portrayed it, the vision of what you were trying to,
Yeah,
you know,
I think
get.
so. I got more words done than I was expecting, so
Right.
can't
What's that?
complain.
Count 400.
69, 469.
Ooh, yeah. And that was all just off the top.
Yeah, I it went better than I expected, but I was really thinking, I don't know how much longer I can go. I'm kind of like struggling as we get to the end. Like, how do I want this to end? At least for this. How long did I have? 20 minutes.
20
Yeah,
minutes.
like what do I want the ending to be within this 20-minute time frame?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was kind of writing towards. I didn't know what the ending was going to be until I was writing it because it wasn't even going how I initially planned.
Mm-hmm.
Because my thought process was this girl just wants her stuff back, which is something that's happened to a friend of mine. She just needed to get her stuff back. That's all. She didn't want anything else. But then I thought, where is the fun in that, though?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is she calling this man because she wants to get her stuff back, or is she hoping to maybe rekindle a connection? But then all of a sudden, this new girlfriend, ends up answering his phone or calling back from his phone. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like she's now lost a connection that she thought might always be there
Mm-hmm.
because this man has moved on. He was broken. She knew that. She knew how much her leaving was going to hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
But she always held it in the back of her mind that he'll be there when I'm ready
Mm-hmm.
because he pursued me so vigorously in the past. But like what happens with all of us, we eventually, well, I guess not her, but most
Right.
of us, we move on. So that's kind of what I was going for.
No, I see what you're going for. I mean, it looks good. Like, just for 20 minutes, this is a good start. Um,
I like this story.
right,
Not
you need
me
to
wanting to
finish
start a new project, but
it. Right, even if it is just a short story, like,
yeah.
you need to complete this. And I know we can all see the screen, but do you want to read it? Do you want to read it to us? Do
Yeah,
you
let
want us to
me
hear your reading voice?
let me drink my water. Okay, I will read this. Ooh, it's always like a different thing when you start to read it out loud because then you can see the
Mm,
issues. But here we go. She waited by the phone for what felt like days, pacing back and forth, waiting for it to ring. Where was he? It's not like he ever left his apartment. Jolene glanced down at her phone. 11:30. She called him hours ago. All she wanted was to get her things out of storage. He put them there after she left all her belongings behind. She hadn't planned on being gone so long, but 7 months later, and she still had no idea when she'd be back to New York. Jolene thought about calling again, but didn't want to seem desperate. She didn't want him to know how much she needed him in this moment. Not when she tossed him aside and moved on, thinking she'd never speak to him again. Funny how a few boxes locked away in a storage room can change things. The phone screen lit up before the sound went off. Jolene jumped, frightened by the sound, and then felt relieved when she saw his name appear on the screen. Finally. Hey, Tom, she started, but was quickly cut off by the sound of someone clearing their throat. It's not Tom. It's his new girlfriend. Jolene didn't like the way the woman emphasized the word new, as if implying she was old and meant to be thrown away. Hello? Is Tom there? The sound of light footsteps along hardwood floors could be heard from the other side of the phone. Jolene knew the woman was walking around the living room, the only room in the house not covered in carpet. Even the kitchen had an old tattered rug thrown across the floor. She could never get behind the idea that she was stepping on something covered in all kinds of spilled cooking ingredients. But Tom liked it, so it stayed. When are you going to leave him alone? He doesn't want you anymore. If Jolene had been drinking water, she would have spit it out. She doesn't want Tom either. She just wants her stuff back. Look, I'm just trying to get. He's done paying your way and answering your beck and call. I just need my. Have you thought about what he needs? Do you know how broken he was when you left? How I picked up the pieces and made him whole again? Jolene knew. After she left and went off on her own, she knew she left a good man behind. But he didn't deserve someone as needy as her. She was unemployed, depressed, and scared. She needed to get away, even if that meant leaving behind the man she was meant to marry. Did she need her stuff back? Did she even want it? She hoped they could talk like they used to, maybe catch up or get dinner. And that's what we got.
Okay. You got first of all, you got a very good reading voice. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I could, and you were flowing with it too. Like, look, I'm just trying to get. He's done paying your way and answering your beck and call. Okay, but I like this story, and it's not even done.
Thank you. I like it too. I can feel like I want to like plant some other things where Jolene is like, this is not just a call to get her stuff back, but like I didn't even know this last paragraph until I wrote it. And so it's like all things, like kind of back to one of the first questions you asked about, you just got to finish the thing first, and just after that you can make it better. So
right.
It's just a fun discovery. This was so much fun. I was scared. I was nervous, but this was really fun.
Right, because once you start writing, it's scary to start, but once you start, it just all will just unfold magically. And that's why I love watching creative writing, because you just watch how it just spills out. Like, you don't even know where it's coming from. It just comes.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, good job. Look, we need to give you a round of applause. Let me cue that in here, the round of applause. Okay, so yeah, this is, and what would you title it? Like, if you had to come up with a title.
The first thought I had was storage room, but then that makes me think of like a horror movie where something crazy is about to happen in the storage room. But that was my first thought just now. But if I had, okay, let me get a second thought there. If I had to title this based on the vibes I think I'm going for, it would have to be maybe stolen goods, because it would reflect how not only does the main character no longer have the things that she was looking for in storage, but this man that she thought would always be there is no longer hers, and he's a good man. Like, I want him, this character, he's a good man, but he's not hers anymore. So he's, I don't know, he's like the stolen goods, and her like storage room, I think I might have it that they got rid of it, and so kind of like stolen, lost goods. So it's kind of something like that.
Okay, no, I like that. That's especially just to come up with that quick. That, I mean, it ties together. Stolen goods. Her stuff is gone, and this man is now gone that she thought was going to be there for however long she wanted to go back and forth.
My writing never goes this good. I feel.
Well, maybe you need to start just writing on the spot.
I agree. For anyone out there who struggles with writing, this was an amazing exercise, because I feel like sometimes we brainstorm ideas for an entire novel, story, whatever, and then we don't continue brainstorming before we go into a new writing session. And I feel like that could be a really powerful thing to do just based on this experience. Like, sure, maybe you have your whole outline done, but maybe you want to brainstorm, give yourself like 5 minutes to just think about what it is you're about to write down some ideas, and then get started, as opposed to looking at that outline you created 5 months ago and trying to write based off of kind of old feelings and old thoughts. So
Agreed, 100%, because I don't outline. But so I definitely agree. All right. So Ash, she did wonderful on the Right on the Spot challenge. I mean, seriously, this is as good as it can get. Well, she almost finished it. I feel like she could have just a couple more paragraphs, it would have been finished. But where you stopped at is still a good stopping point, and it still conveyed the message that I feel like you were trying to give, which you already explained to us. But yeah, this was a good exercise. This was a good challenge. The best outcome that I could have asked for.
better outcome than I was expecting. And even if I had only written a paragraph, I think it's still just fun to try it out. You never know what's going to work for you until you just try something. So
Right. And you just wrote. And okay, so for our closing thoughts today, what's one piece of advice you would give to writers who are just starting out and maybe feeling a little unsure of themselves?
even the most famous and best-selling authors at one point were starting off just like you. So don't expect or don't compare your starting point to their current success, because you're never going to come out on top doing that. So just focus on your own journey and have fun. If you're not having fun, what are you doing? Obviously, no matter how much fun we're doing or we're having with things, things are still going to end up stressful at times. But just have fun with the writing process. Don't be afraid to explore things. Don't compare yourself to others. Bringing it to Stephen King, he does not like to outline. He is very successful. Brandon Sanderson loves to outline. He is also very successful. So try what works for you. I think that was more than one bit of advice. To sum all of that up, just have fun and don't let comparison steal away the joy that you have for writing.
And very good advice, might I add. And let me, so where can readers and fellow writers follow your journey, and what can they look forward to in the coming months?
I am here on YouTube as Ash Danielle Writes. You can also find me on Instagram as Ash Danielle Writer, I believe. But if you want to stay the most up to date, gotta follow me on YouTube. I'm more active on here. I have actually no, that's going to be a surprise for later on. So yeah, I have a YouTube. This is where you can find me most actively.
Excellent. And I will link her below. And what's next for you as a writer? Any upcoming projects or milestones you're excited to share?
Actually, yes, this actually brings me to something I was like thinking, should I say this? But I'm currently working on a Substack right now where I want to do more short stories. I love the idea of having multiple stories set in the same world. And so I'm currently working on a Substack where I share those stories for free. So it's not paid. I mean, there might be eventually, but the stories will be free. And I just want to get out some shorter writing. If you've ever read any fan fiction or you know of fan fiction, people are publishing stories or a chapter for a story every week. Kind of the vibe I'm going for as well, just as a more fun, creative thing. So that is kind of the big thing I'm working on right now. Something that doesn't need to bring me money, but something that purely is for joy.
Amen. And I'm excited because I want to see more from you, especially in your short stories, because like I said, I'm actually surprised. Like you did very good on that challenge. So I can only imagine when you're sitting down and you're actually outlining and you have plenty of time. But I can only imagine how your books are. So yeah.
Appreciate that.
You are very welcome. And thank you so much for coming on today. Um, Now, this is episode 2 of Right on the Spot, first episode with Jordy. And I am happy to have had both of you on. And I hope that your journey goes as great as it can be going forward on authortube and with writing. So, yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you. You too.
All right, y'all. I mean, Ash had me worried for a second there, guys. She had me worried because I was like, it looked like she's gonna finish it, but I don't think she is, which she did not finish it. But the story was still good for 20 minutes. You can't lie and say that story, you do not want to know what happens and what happened at the end of that story, because that she only had 20 minutes. Think about it. She had 5 minutes to brainstorm, 20 minutes to write it. She had no idea what the prompt was, and she put in work. Now, I just want to say, Ash, you beat, even though you didn't finish the story, you beat the Right on the Spot challenge. So you got that little nick under your belt. Matter of fact, I need to send you something for that because you did a very good job. So if you're interested in seeing more of Danny's work, go follow her page. Now, I put the link in the comments below. She's great on, giving tips and, describing things and helping other people in the writing process. So go follow her authortube channel. And like I said, round of applause for you, Ash Danny. And this concludes episode 2 of Right on the Spot. Now, be looking out for episode 3, where we will be talking to Leah. And she will be doing the Right on the Spot challenge too. So can't wait for that. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe so you can catch all these videos as they come. Thank you for joining today and have a great day, guys.